I wanted your best worker, not some kid. A furious client screams at a broker, but the broker calmly replies, he's our best though. The client's massive bodyguard cracks his knuckles. He's ready to teach this kid a lesson. Oh my, what on earth should I do? The kid mutters sarcastically. Then, bam, a massive blue aura explodes from his body. Folks, this is Jerong, high school student by day, dungeon smuggler by night. So why is this high school student working illegally in the shadows? The answer lies with the man he's trying to save. See, one day the world changed. A cosmic disaster called the adhesion phenomena fused our world with a monster-infested one. Portals ripped open, and monsters poured out, turning huge parts of Earth into dungeons. In the chaos, a few humans awakened incredible powers. They were called adventurers. The first of them, the first generation, were absolute legends who fought to save humanity. And the greatest of them all was Yu Sung, the Dragon Slayer, the first man to ever hunt a dragon. He was basically the all might of his era. He was also Jerong's father, a hero until he was betrayed, poisoned, and left to rot in a hospital bed. And to keep up with the bills, Jerong works in the shadows as a dungeon smuggler, where the money is good and the risk is everything. But to the rest of the world, he's just a normal high school kid. And here he is one day walking home with his friends. Suddenly, a massive military convoy rolls down the street. Everyone stops to watch. You do not see this every day. What's all the fuss about? One of the students asks. His friend points out the logo on the trucks. These kids are from Warrior High School. This school is so elite that they do actual dungeon runs for their tests. One guy is shocked they get approval for something so dangerous, but that is just how confident the school is. Suddenly, a loud scream cuts through the air. Nope, not a monster attack. It is just a group of schoolgirls fawning over someone. Sitting on a bench is a handsome young man with blonde hair and elf ears. That is Diav Choi, son of a famous adventurer and an elf. A total genius who at just 17 has already cleared 14 dungeons. A total Chad. As the girls keep screaming, one of the guys gets annoyed. They're not stars, they're just high school kids. Whatever. You're just jealous, his friend replies, then changes the subject. He asks Jerong if he's coming to hang out later. But our boy declines. He's got work. Friend 1 tries to convince him to skip work, but friend 2 quickly pokes him. Jerong isn't just working for fun, he has to. He gets a message from his chief. The message is simple. Come in, we have work to do. As Jerong walks away, Diav Troy, the elf prince, suddenly catches a glimpse of him and looks confused. He watches Jerong disappear down the street, looking puzzled. His companion asks if something is wrong, but Diav just says it is nothing. Sure it is. Meanwhile, Jerong continues on his way, pulling an earbud from his ear. He sighs, muttering to himself, I do not want to work. Same, buddy. Same. He arrives at a rundown building with a derelict subway entrance, ducks under some caution tape, and heads into the darkness. Down below, his boss, the broker Im Ja-wan, tells him to say hi to the client for today's job. The client, a bald man in a suit, absolutely loses his mind. He shouts that he wanted their best worker, not some kid. The client is furious, screaming to get Jerong out of his face and bring someone who can actually do the job. He threatens to make them regret it. Jerong finally speaks up, but not to him. He addresses the huge bodyguard. Hey, big guy. Jerong pulls down his hood. I guess you were an adventurer. You look stupid behind him. Oh, shots fired. The client is stunned. The bodyguard tells his boss to stop talking and he'll handle it. He cracks his knuckles as a green aura flares up. He says a broken arm and a leg should teach Jerong a lesson. Folks, this is Lee Pilju, a retired adventurer with a record of 81 dungeon runs. The client is thrilled by this, cheering on his bodyguard. Jerong just watches calmly. He taunts Jerong, telling him to beg for his life, all while Jawan just keeps smoking, enjoying the show. And Jerong's reply, oh my goodness, what should I do? I do not remember how to beg. Then, bam! His eyes glow as a massive blue aura explodes around him. My friends, this 17-year-old kid has cleared a whopping 371 dungeons. Who's the noob now? But just as our boy is about to unleash heck, the author hits pause for a quick lore drop. So, what exactly is a dungeon smuggler? Let's find out. See, every day, brave adventurers go into dungeons to fight monsters and get loot. If they win, they're rewarded with all sorts of amazing treasures. You know, the good stuff. However, before they can leave, they have to hand over all their shiny new toys for inspection. This is because some of these items are ridiculously powerful and potentially super dangerous. If these artifacts get out into the world unchecked, they could be used for evil and put everyone at risk. That's why the Adventurers Association needs to inspect and register everything first, and then of course hit them with some massive taxes. Uncle Sam always gets his cut, folks. Naturally, there are always people who want to skip the whole paying taxes part. These are the smugglers. They tempt adventurers who don't want to pay up, and then they sneak the treasures out, pocketing all the profit for themselves. Classic. When these criminals get away with it, society as a whole is put in danger. So if you see one, report them. And with that, our little PSA is over. Right, Jaewon? Okay, lore dump finished. Back to the action. The client looks nervously over at Jaewon. He stammers, asking Jaewon if he's really gonna let this psycho kid run wild. He glances over at the standoff, where Jerong and the beefy bodyguard are having an aura stare down. Jaewon just smirks, but he is losing his mind, yelling that they should be scared of his guy. He reveals the bodyguard didn't retire from injury. He got kicked out for brutally beating his own teammates. Jerong overhears this and goes, "Assaulting teammates? So you were a criminal too, huh?" Then he adds, "Not that I can talk." The big guy just scoffs, saying his teammate was just trash he needed to dispose of. Jerong pauses, looking completely shocked for a second. Then a massive, unhinged grin spreads across his face. "Oh, trash disposal. I get it." He keeps taunting him. "So you know you're trash. That's why you got your license revoked, right?" Jaewon is just loving this. What a psycho. The bodyguard has finally had enough. He growls as he winds up a punch. Damn! He throws a massive haymaker right at our boy's head. But his eyes go wide. Something is very, very wrong. Jerong has avoided the punch effortlessly. "Bit rude to attack me out of nowhere," he says. The big man grunts and grits his teeth. Bro's fighting his inner demons and losing. He puts all of his power into another aim, roaring like a maniac. Jerong looks completely bored. "I guess I'll return the favor with a light kick." And in a flash, whoosh, a high kick slams right into the guy's face. The impact nearly snaps his head off, his face twisting from the raw power. Jerong lands perfectly, not even breaking a sweat. Jaewon turns to the stunned client. "See, I told you I brought the most skilled person I know." The big guy stumbles back, dazed and confused. Jerong just stretches and smirks. "Wow, I thought a big guy like you would be a little tougher." Pilju is completely stunned. Just moments ago, he thought this smuggling teen was just some punk kid. But those reflexes and the insane force behind that kick, this kid is a pro-level fighter. Jaewon smirks. Looks like he's finally getting it. He's starting to realize he can't win this. The client is still arguing. "Hey, that was just one kick. My guy is fine." But Jaewon isn't worried. "Yeah, well, I know that guy. Pilju has always been a tank." He glances at the client. "Don't look at me like that. I know what you're thinking." The tank glares at Jerong, his aura flaring. "Cheap tricks won't work on me, you smuggler scum." And then he roars, "I'll show you real power." Okay, writer's hitting us with another lore drop. After a thing called the adhesion, people started getting superpowers. But everyone's different, so they all awakened a huge variety of abilities. So, adventurers started specializing, training to fit specific roles like in an RPG. Jerong watches, actually a little impressed. One of those classic RPG roles is the tank. Pilju pops all his buffs. He activates bulk up, iron skin, and giant strength. His entire body transforms into a mountain of muscle, his eyes glowing with pure power. A tank's job is to be the team's meat shield, taking all the hits from monsters head on. Their bodies are trained so hard they can literally shrug off bullets, like they're nothing. And the absolute top-tier tanks? They can withstand missile strikes, acting as a living shield for an entire city. As Jerong's own aura flares up, he realizes Pilju is a real adventurer. His opponent, the tank Lee Pilju, is an absolute monster, completely dwarfing him as he powers up. The aura burst from the tank is enough to stagger Jerong. The shockwave from the impact is insane, tearing up the floor and kicking dust everywhere. The client gets sent stumbling back by the force of the clash. He lets out a terrified scream. Jaewon grabs his collar to stop him from flying away. "You alright?" Jaewon asks, completely unfazed by the Category 5 hurricane happening next to him. He takes a drag from his cigarette and sighs. Honestly, what a punk. He just watches the fight, probably wondering if Jerong is going to completely wreck his warehouse. Jerong finally gets into a proper fighting stance. His face is dead serious. Playtime is over. The tank throws another massive haymaker, aiming to turn Jerong into a fine red mist. His fist smashes into the wall behind Jerong. "What's wrong?" he taunts. "No more cheap tricks?" "Sorry, I'm not an idiot," Jerong replies. "I have no intention of walking into an obvious trap." Watching from the side, Jaewon calmly analyzes the fight. He's not bad. He figures the tank hits with the force of a speeding truck. A direct hit would pulverize a normal person. Suddenly, Jaewon yells from across the room, "Hurry up and end this, Jerong. Any more damage and it's coming out of your pay." Jerong grits his teeth. Darn it, the ultimate weakness, capitalism. The tank smirks. "Looks like your boss doesn't get it. Your cheap tricks can't break through a pro's defense." Jerong just smirks back. That doesn't sound too bad. Then he bends down and picks up a rusty metal pipe. He holds the pipe like a weapon, ready to face down the walking mountain of muscle. Oh boy. The tank charges forward, completely confident. To most people, tanks are basically unbeatable because of their insane durability. Jaewon just watches, a knowing look on his face. It's over. But that's where people are wrong. Tanks have a clear weakness. A natural enemy. Their weakness is anything that can focus a massive amount of destructive power into a single point. For example, a damage dealer who is way more skilled than them. Kaboom! Jerong's pipe, glowing with blue energy, connects with the tank's face in a massive explosion. The tank's eyes go white as blood just erupts from his nose. His unbreakable skin literally starts to crack. Jerong finishes his swing as the dust and energy finally settle around him. One hit. Jaewon calmly takes a puff while the client's jaw is on the floor in complete disbelief. A skilled damage dealer can shatter a tank's defense like glass. The massive bodyguard lies defeated on the floor. The tank, barely conscious, looks up with a bloody face. Where did you learn to swing like that? Jerong just turns away. What are you talking about? I have no idea what you mean. He's playing dumb, but a thought flashes in his mind. Maybe the tank has seen that swing before. We see a silhouette of another insanely powerful man in a flashback, a memory of his father. And we end on one last lore drop. Adventurers are ranked from gemstone up to gold, but the top 100 are called rankers, with special color ranks. They're in a league of their own. That swing, that raw power, it all comes from a memory, from a time when Jerong was just a little kid. Back then, he thought his father was the greatest adventurer in the entire world. And listen, it wasn't just because he was his dad. The man was an absolute legend. His name? Yu Seong. He was one of the originals, an OG who was there when soldiers first threw down with actual demons. People call them the first generation's heroes. Basically the first ever adventurers to log into the game. To us, it all sounds like some epic tale you'd read in a history book. But for the people who lived it, my friend, it was pure, unfiltered hell. See, back then there were no strategy guides. No one knew what dungeons were or what kind of nightmares were waiting inside. They were just walking in blind, bumping into horrifying things like this Gekamulith. Monsters that nowadays are probably considered low-level starter mobs were basically world-ending calamities back in the day. It was a time before anyone had flashy skills to fight with. Forget about legendary items too. Even their best titanium swords would just melt like butter. In a situation that desperate, all they had to rely on was pure, stubborn grit. The first generation grinded it out through trial and error, risking their lives with every single step. You think they'd get a break after clearing a tough dungeon, right? Nope. Waiting for them right outside was something even worse. Talk about unfair spawn points. But the survivors passed on everything they learned to the next generation. And through all that sacrifice, they became true heroes. Yu Seong even earned a title, the Dragon Slayer. Yeah, you heard that right. He got that nickname for being the first person to ever hunt down a dragon. The entire world lost its mind as he became Asia's #1 adventurer. And this absolute unit was Jerong's father. He respected him more than anything. He'd watch him train every day, completely starstruck by his old man's power. Jerong truly believed his father was invincible, untouchable. But then, for the first time, he saw his hero fall. The cause? A simple, deadly poison. During one of his dungeon runs, his father had been hit with something nasty. He tried to fight it off, but after decades of pushing his body to the absolute limit, he had nothing left. And get this, the colleagues his father trusted with his life came to visit. But they weren't there to help. They took his money. For years, he was left with absolutely nothing, suffering from the poison and the betrayal. After the world completely forgot about the Dragon Slayer, this is what became of him. He lost everything. A legendary hero nerfed by poison and left to waste away. And now, in his place stands his son, looking down at a man he just put on the floor. His father's story might be over, but Jerong's is just getting started. Without saying another word, he just turns and walks away, coolly twirling his weapon. Watching from the side, the broker in Jaewon just says, "Well, that went smoothly." His buddy is in total shock. He lost. Pilled you lost to some kid. Jaewon just scoffs. He probably figured the guy wasn't all that great to begin with. As Jerong passes by, he thinks that bragging about beating up your own side is just pathetic. He stops to drop some wisdom on the shocked associate. A good adventurer only retires for 2 reasons. Either their body is too broken to continue or they die. He tells them to just fire the guy, adding, "Anyone can talk a big game, you know." Jaewon steps in, putting a hand on his guy's shoulder. "That's a bit harsh. Try to see it from our side." Then he drops a bomb with a little smirk. "Oh, and the pay for this job is now doubled." The associate completely loses it. Jaewon's smile turns icy as he leans in close. "You were the one who started this, right? We don't work for free." Suddenly terrified, the guy completely changes his tune. "Ah, okay, I get it." With that little problem solved, Jaewon sits down and calls out, "Hey Jerong, ever heard of the Imperial Wasp?" The name makes Jerong spit out his water in a perfect anime spit take. Jerong frantically wipes his face. "You're not serious, right? We don't have to fight that thing, do we?" Okay, folks. The Imperial Wasp is a monster so dangerous it's considered a top-tier threat worldwide. The area where it built its nest has become Korea's highest difficulty demon realm. Jaewon explains that even a top ranker would have trouble. For a smuggler like Jerong, it's impossible. But what about for a white rank adventurer? Jerong's eyes widen at the question. Jaewon says that according to his associate, there was a huge secret raid on the nest just yesterday. The government sent in the army and an elite squad of 7 white rank adventurers. Jerong is stunned. 7 of them? Jaewon says, yeah, it was basically Korea's all-star team. They didn't manage to wipe out the whole nest, but they did take down the queen bee. But here's the twist. One of the 7 stole the royal jellies from the queen and is trying to smuggle it out. Royal jelly? Jerong asks. Jaewon explains it's a special food the wasps feed to a new queen. Jerong is completely baffled. Why would a top-tier white-rank adventurer need to smuggle out some monster food? Jaewon leans back, getting serious. From what I hear, if a human eats that stuff, they can come back from the dead. And that revelation hits Jerong like an absolute truck. So, with an actual cure for death on the table, you'd think the government would have these dungeons on total lockdown, right? Yeah, that's the official story they tell all the normal folks. But down in the shadows, guys like Jaewon know the truth is a whole lot messier. Our favorite shady broker takes a long drag from his cigarette, looking completely unbothered. He strolls up to this massive sealed gate covered in glowing red symbols. Very welcoming. With a simple touch, he pumps some brilliant blue energy right into the door, and the whole thing lights up. The runes flare to life, and the colossal gate starts rumbling like it's about to explode. The light fades. Our boy Yu Jerong is standing there, ready for another day at the office. Jaewon gives him his classic pep talk. Look, I say this every time, but try not to die, okay? Jaewon sighs, flicking his lighter. He's already over it. This job is going to be a special kind of pain. But Jerong isn't even listening. His mind is a million miles away. He's so zoned out. Dude, what are you doing? Jerong asks. And then it clicks. Ah, I get it. You're still thinking about that, aren't you? He brings up the whole rumor about a medicine that can bring back the dead. Our boy is hung up on it. Doctors hate this one secret. Jerong just turns away, saying stories like that always get overhyped. He places his hand on the gate. Yeah, he says. He knows that even if some legendary miracle cure existed, it wouldn't be enough for his father's condition. He thinks, if something like that really existed, father never would have given up hope. Oof, right in the feels. He steps through the portal and finds himself on a high cliff overlooking a massive, overgrown jungle. See, after this thing called the adhesion phenomenon, these dungeons just popped up all over Earth. And among them, 2 are considered the absolute worst in all of Korea. The first one is on Jeju Island, basically a supervolcano dungeon. You know, a nice vacation spot. And the other one is right here, a place fused with the Igar jungle, smack in the middle of what used to be Seoul. This one dungeon swallowed up huge chunks of the city. A ton of adventurers died just trying to map it out. So here's the mission. One of their guys was moving an item through this zone, from a super dangerous area to a slightly less dangerous one. But after he got to the meeting point, he went radio silent. Jaewon thinks he got hurt or ran into trouble. Jerong's job is simple. Get in there, find the guy, and bring back the loot. But Jerong is spacing out again, and Jaewon has to snap him out of it. Don't get distracted, Jaewon warns him. Just focus on the job. We clear? Jerong cracks a grin. You think I'd run away from you? Jaewon just exhales a cloud of smoke. No, you're not stupid enough to try that. Just be really careful, he adds. And for a second, he actually sounds concerned. And he leaves him with one last piece of intel. Remember, that royal jelly is precious. Humans aren't the only ones willing to die for it. With that cheery thought, Jerong rappels down into the dark, creepy forest below. The second he lands, this overwhelmingly sweet scent hits him. The entire jungle must smell like it. His eyes widen in alarm. Oh no. What the heck? He mutters, spotting a giant dark footprint. He knows this smell is basically a dinner bell for every monster around. Elsewhere in the jungle, a young woman is running for her life, totally out of breath. She skids to a halt, hiding behind a huge tree root, her heart pounding out of her chest. This is Jin Saerom, a first-year at Warrior High, and she is having a very, very bad day. This was just supposed to be a simple trip into the dungeon for her midterm exam. Instead, she ran into a monster that absolutely should not have been there. She stands frozen in pure terror. What is that thing? The test was simple. Collect as many special meme coins as you can before the timer runs out. And even though it was a combat test, the area was the lowest rank possible, D+. It should have been a cakewalk. This place is supposed to be a beginner's training ground. Even the monsters here were supposed to be weak, dumb, and easy to kill. But this thing smashes the ground with enough force to cause an earthquake, sending a shockwave right at her. She's trembling, realizing she can't outrun it. There's just no way. She knows her only hope is a miracle. But she's not going down without a fight. The creature, a juvenile titan ape with a 3-star danger rank, lets out a deafening roar. Saerom doesn't hesitate for a second, firing all 3 arrows right at the charging beast. The titan ape barely even flinches as her arrows sink into its chest. It just casually looks down at the tiny arrows stuck in its skin like they're annoying mosquitoes. Jin Saerom stares in total disbelief. Her attacks did absolutely nothing. Now it's angry. The monster raises a colossal fist and smashes it down, completely obliterating the spot where she just stood. She leaps back just in time, narrowly escaping being turned into a pancake. Okay, so normal attacks are useless. Time for plan B. But again, her arrows just bounce right off its super tough hide. The ape charges forward, tongue hanging out, completely lost in a blind rage. She admits to herself that her attacks aren't enough. That's right, my attacks can't hurt you. No need to even dodge. Just a little closer. Come on, you big dummy. Let your guard down. This is Jin Saerom, my friends. And as she plants her feet, a brilliant fiery aura explodes around her. She's a magic ranger, a class that can imbue magic directly into their arrowheads. And she unleashes her ultimate skill, Flame Bombardment. For a magic ranger, the possibilities are pretty much endless. Fire, ice, you name it. As a last resort, she chose the biggest, most powerful explosion she could possibly create. A blast like that should have been more than enough to take out any monster with a 3-star rank. But of course, it wasn't. The creature is standing in the middle of a brand new crater, looking down at her like she's a bug. Her heart just sinks. It dodged. It jumped before she even fired the arrow. This thing has brains. With no other options, only one thought is left in her head. I need to run. But it is way too late for that. The ape is already on top of her, thundering across the ground. A look of pure terror crosses her face as the monster's foot comes down to crush her flat. Suddenly, bam! A brilliant flash of energy erupts from below, slamming the ape in the jaw and sending the beast flying. A mysterious figure in black, wielding a staff, appears out of nowhere, having delivered the devastating blow. And then he spots her. A bronze-class adventurer. That's the lowest possible rank for someone to enter a dungeon. No time for pleasantries. The job's not done yet. He leaps back onto a tree branch, thinking, I stuck it properly on his chin, but... Panting, he realizes the hit did next to nothing. I guess this just isn't enough? Yeah, my dude, that thing is huge. What did you expect? Time for plan B. He reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small, cylindrical tool. The system identifies the mysterious tool as he leaps off the branch, charging straight at the monster. Saerom can't believe her eyes. A frontal assault, she thinks. She's convinced he's a goner. She thinks, that's impossible. He's going to die. As the monster prepares to swat him like a fly. But Jerong just screams back at her midair. Close your eyes. She flinches at his command, probably wondering what fresh madness this is. As he gets closer, he takes a deep breath and aims his secret weapon. He clicks the device, and a brilliant light erupts from its tip. Kaboom! The entire area is engulfed in a blinding flash, stunning the monster instantly. Saerom shields her eyes, wincing from the intensity. Hope you close your eyes too, folks. The poor monster's vision completely whites out. Its brain turned to scrambled eggs. Breakfast is served, apparently. Jerong lands smoothly and immediately complains. Geez, I used them all up, even though that was my last one. A handy system window tells us he just used a stunning torch. It's a tool made from the scales of a flickering fish, a rare creature from deep-sea dungeons. This thing was once a favorite among adventurers for its powerful, low-cost stun ability. But it was so overpowered that it was literally breaking the game's balance, so it got nerfed. As a result, its production and usage are now strictly banned. Our boy is using illegal mods. Saerom, having recovered, calls out to him, Look here, you. He turns his back on her. If I've done this much for you, you ought to take responsibility for your own life. You only have a few seconds left. His thoughts reveal a grim reality. In a dungeon, adventurers don't help each other unless they're provoked. A flashback to his broker, Jae-won, confirms this. Frankly, it's because we're like cockroaches. Jae-won continues, Did you know? The bounty on smugglers is pretty sweet. If you mess around carelessly, you will just get stomped. So basically, mind your own business. Suddenly, Jerong whips his head around, sensing something behind him. It's Saerom. And she's not running away, she's running deeper into the forest. She's running for her life, panting heavily. But where is she going? In a flash, Jerong disappears from where he was standing just as an arrow whizzes past. She turns around, totally confused. Huh? He suddenly disappeared? I'm sure he was right in front of me just now. Before she can even blink, he's on her, grabbing her shoulder and slamming her forward. He snarls, pressing his staff to her throat. You're so stupid. Hey, what are you doing? She gasps, trying to explain. I wanted to thank you for saving me. Yeah, nobody's buying that. He's definitely not buying it. Are you messing with me? Do I look like a fool to you? So she comes clean. That's not the only reason why I came. I'm well aware that you're a smuggler. That's why I want to offer you a job. Well, that's a twist. Blackmail and a job offer all in one. His eyes narrow, his gaze falling to the insignia on her shirt. She's a student at Warrior High. He lets out a slow breath. He is so done with this day. I don't intend to overlook this a third time, he warns her coldly. He continues, Neither do I have any interest in learning how crazy a silver spoon-sucking Warrior High student is. Ouch. I'll bury you for real if you get in my way again. The message is loud and clear. She watches him go, speechless for a moment, but she's not giving up. She calls out, The bounty on smugglers is 50 million won. The bounty for poachers should be 450 million won. He turns back, visibly shocked. You can see the gears turning in his head. That's a lot of money. She holds up a shimmering necklace. And kills blood. You can buy just one by catching 5 people like you. Her eyes glow green as she dangles the prize. This is just the down payment. If you help me with my midterms, I will pay you the rest. Jerong is floored. I thought you were just a spoiled brat, but it looks like you're filthy rich and absolutely out of your mind. She just smiles. What does it matter whether I'm crazy or not, she asks, with the confidence of someone who definitely is. Right now, what's important is that this could be an opportunity to change your life. She's got him hooked. He lets out a sigh. Ha, I figured things would turn out like this. He finally speaks. Alright, this was my bad. There wasn't any reason to kill you, but... He looks up. I told you before, you only had a few seconds. And right on cue, the stunned monster roars back to life. Its eyes glow red as it leaps down towards them. Saerom turns just in time to see the beast about to crush her, her eyes wide with terror. As the monster closes in, Jerong yells, I didn't hand it to you just so you could stare at it. He tells her to remember that fiery strike she used before, and to do it again. Cast it at the end of my staff and throw it back to me, he orders. But she's panicking, screaming back that she's completely out of magic power. Jerong just gives her a cold, hard stare. Well, you figure that out. That was savage. Absolutely savage. The massive beast lunges forward as Jerong warns he can't hold its attention barehanded for long. Saerom desperately tries to channel her energy, realizing she barely has a quarter of her magic left. She knows it's nowhere near enough to even damage the charging monster. Her resolve crumbles. She thinks to herself, instead, I'd rather just run away by myself. But as she considers fleeing, she sees Jerong charging head-on to intercept the beast, to save her. He turns his head, his expression grim and focused as he prepares to face the monster alone, because apparently he left his survival instincts at home. Seeing his bravery, she makes her choice and hurls the glowing staff back to him like a spear. Panting and completely spent, she can only watch, muttering to herself, I really am crazy. Yes. Yes, you are. Jerong catches the staff but is immediately pushed back. I'm disappointed, he grits out. He tells her the power she gave him is hardly a quarter of what she launched before, a truly glowing review. Despite the weak attack, Jerong smirks. A brilliant blue aura flares around him as he says, well, I guess this should be enough. Time for a lesson from Warrior High. When facing a monster, brute force alone isn't the most important thing. What truly matters is a sense of timing and accurately aiming your attacks. Saerom watches in absolute awe as Jerong's eyes flare with an intense, otherworldly light. Because what adventurers must temper above all else is their battle sense, and he unleashes everything. The superheated staff carves a deep, molten gash right across the creature's throat. The force of the impact shatters Jerong's goggles as he lands, revealing his determined face. A system window appears defining silver classes, a rank for veterans who hunt 3-star monsters. This is his real level. Okay, hold up. We just found out our boy Jerong is secretly a silver class baddie. So who is this girl he just saved? Well, my friend, to answer that, we gotta jump in the time machine. Meet a much younger Jin Saerom running home from school. But her normal kid routine is interrupted by a man in a suit. He's standing next to a car that costs more than my entire life. She waves goodbye to her friends, who have no idea she lives in a completely different world. She's lucky. She can have anything she wants in the world. Must be nice. And folks, that is not an exaggeration. This girl was born with a platinum credit card in her hand. That's because her family owns the Jinsung Group, only the 4th biggest company in all of South Korea. No big deal. Her dad, the heir to this massive fortune, went and married an actual elf from another world. And the result of that very interesting union? Our girl, Jin Saerom. But despite all that money, she didn't want to be a CEO. She dreamed of becoming an adventurer. Which brings us to a training session, where her blonde elf uncle looks absolutely fed up. He tells her dad her elf blood is too weak. She's basically just a human with pointy ears. He doesn't get it. Why is he pushing her so hard instead of just telling her to give up? But her dad, Jin Sunggwa, shuts that down. He says he's not pushing her, he's cheering her on. Give this man an award. He argues you don't need elf-tier stats to be an adventurer. And the uncle has to admit, he's got a point. He admits that for a human, she's not terrible. But she's only a little above average. Ouch, that's a burn. The problem is, Saerom isn't just some normal girl from a normal family. Because of her background, she'll never quit. She's stubborn, just like her elf mom. But she'll never be able to compete with the real monster rank humans, the ones born with cheat codes. If she keeps grinding this hard, maybe she'll become decent. Not great, but decent. For any regular person, that level of skill would actually be pretty impressive. But because she's super rich, everyone will just say she bought her success. Her hard work won't matter. They'll be jealous and mock her behind her back. She could end up totally alone. Main character energy, but depressing. Her uncle is convinced that sooner or later, she's going to crack under all that pressure. And just as he says that, we snap back to the present, where Jerong says talent isn't something that just falls out of the sky. And boom, a massive explosion goes off, as if to prove his point. Talk about perfect timing. The giant stone monster that was about to flatten Saerom is now just a pile of rubble with a snapped neck. Jerong just casually strolls past the corpse, like he's walking through a park. Total Chad move. He glances over his shoulder and spots Saerom, who's just staring in complete awe. Her mind is completely blown. She recognizes him and realizes they are the exact same age. But then Jerong grabs his head. Uh-oh. That looks like the headache you get when you realize you broke something expensive. Flashback time. We see the broker Jaewon handing him some very expensive-looking goggles, telling him to be careful. Jerong, ever the critic, says they look like they came from a dollar store. This guy has no chill. Jaewon explains they have 4 magic spells on them to hide his face and change his voice. And they're shattered. Yep, those super expensive magic-infused goggles are now in 1,000,000 pieces. Back in the present, Jerong just facepalms. He mutters that things are not going so well today. You think? Saerom carefully walks up to him, asking if he's an upperclassman from her school. He just scoffs. Sunbae, my butt. Then he holds out his hand and demands his payment. Apparently manners don't come free either. She reluctantly hands over the quest item, a silver necklace with a glowing blue gem. Nice loot. He snatches it and mutters, ugh, rich kids, while checking if it's the real deal. Saerom completely misreads the situation. She thinks he needs more money for his adventurer school tuition, but before she can offer to pay his bills, he cuts her off. I don't attend any place. She's completely confused. He clarifies that he doesn't go to some fancy adventurer school. He's never even been near one. Baffled, she asks, then who taught you how to fight like that? He just looks away. No one. I taught myself. The ultimate solo player, ladies and gentlemen. Saerom absolutely loses her mind. What? What kind of nonsense is that? Her eyeballs almost pop out of her head. She gets right in his face, screaming about his impossible movements and perfect timing. She is not having it. He throws his wallet and hits her square on the face. Smack. She catches it and casually pulls out the student ID inside. She reads the name out loud, Yu Jerong, from Donggang High School. Jerong lifts his staff from the ground. Don't worry about it, it's just a regular humanities school, he says. Saerom just stands there trembling, unable to process what just happened. He smirks and holds out his hand. Now you. Hand over something to prove your identity. He reads her ID, Jin Saerom, from the prestigious Warrior High School. He points out they're the same age and wonders why she's being so formal with him. Jerong puts her ID in his pocket and Saerom asks why. He's about to learn what return policies really mean. He looks back, acting all confused. Huh? I thought you wanted me to do something for you. She explains that since he knows who she is, she needs some collateral to make sure he doesn't snitch. Then he gets that psycho smirk again. Oh, and I'm not done. Come closer. Oh no. Jerong grabs her by the shoulder and pulls her in close. She's totally flustered, asking what in the world he's doing. Is this the start of a rom-com? He holds up his phone and says this isn't a contract, it's proof. Proof that she's his accomplice in illegal smuggling. Yikes. A horrifying realization finally hits her. She has gotten herself involved with someone way more dangerous than she could have ever imagined. She tries to laugh it off nervously, attempting to backtrack. Haha, but it is way too late. He shows her the selfie he just took of them smiling with the dead monster. This guy is unhinged. And to really rub salt in the wound, a system window pops up defining the gold class. The top 10% who solo 4-star monsters. Okay, that part's over. Let's talk about the prices. So he asks what she needs him to do. Her mission is simple. Collect coins. You heard that right, folks. We're grinding for meme coins. The goal is to find these special coins scattered throughout the testing center, and they only have a 6-hour time limit. To get one, she has to find a glowing coin box and prove she's a student. It's like an arcade, but with more death. She holds up a golden coin, explaining, I already got 1 coin, so I just need 1 more to pass. Jerong asks where it is, and she reveals it's not too far from where they are. The next coin is located in the old ruins of the Eugene Mall. Spooky. While munching on his snack, Jerong spots something that gives even him a pause. He looks over and just says, I see. Saerom has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Jerong points out a nasty, mangled monster corpse. He says it's no coincidence they met because what he's looking for is also there. She immediately panics, shouting, the Imperial Wasp? But our boy calmly corrects her while still chewing. He's not after the wasp, but it's honey. Or maybe it was royal jelly. My man can't even remember. He explains that the jelly has a strong smell that attracts monsters, which is probably what drew in the one they just found. Jerong asks if there's anywhere else they can find a coin. And that's when the dread hits her. It's the only place left. Jerong confirms her worst fear. The other parties must have already cleaned out the rest of the coins. The mention of other parties catches him off guard, and Jerong immediately realizes this is why she's all alone. She tries to play it cool, saying being by herself is just more convenient anyway. Sure it is. Jerong lays out his mission for her. Find your coin and leave safely. Sounds simple enough. She offers 950 million, a pretty decent payday. She tells Jerong that it's all the cash she has right now. As she fumbles with her phone trying to get more time, he just cuts her off. That's fine. He warns her, though, that he'll be taking extra if any emergencies pop up. A classic upsell. And yes, it comes with a complimentary death stare. "You have enough stamina left to run right now, right?" he asks. She gives him a determined nod. Without another word, they both explode into a sprint, zipping through the dense forest like blurs. Saerom is completely shocked. She had no idea this guy was so incredibly fast. She struggles to keep up, and he's regretting his choices. "I accepted the offer too fast. I should have asked for more." While they're running, she calls out to him, asking a question. She wants to know if he's self-taught. A valid question, given his crazy skills. He tells Saerom, "Not entirely." "Well, that's mysterious. When I was a kid," he starts. But suddenly Jerong stumbles. His body contorts as he senses danger approaching. His eyes widen in alarm. His psycho senses are tingling, like he just heard the universe whisper, "Good luck, bro. Hey, get ready." In front of them, two shadowy figures emerge from the mist. It's a pair of claws raptors, native beasts with a 2-star danger ranking. Not exactly beginner mobs. Saerom doesn't hesitate for a second. She instantly leaps into action. She twists in midair, drawing her bow and unleashing a powerful glowing shot. Pow. So here's the deal with Jerong. He's never had any official adventurer training. His skills were all earned by risking his life. But there is one exception to his self-taught style. And you know what that means. It's flashback time. We see a young Jerong peeking around a corner being a little spy. When he was a kid, he secretly watched his father's movements. Sure, movements. This little bit of espionage allowed him to learn 3 of his father's techniques. The first one he shows off is called Needle, a very fitting name, you'll see. It's a move that channels all of his speed, power, and body weight into a single point. He thrusts his staff forward with blinding speed, stabbing right at the opponent's vital point. Bam. It was a simple move, but not so simple to pull off. One he earned through experience, sense, and raw talent. This was a technique that even top-ranking adventurers couldn't master. But our boy Jerong? Yeah, he perfected it just by watching. What a Chad. Saerom stands over the 2 dead claws raptors, looking pretty tough herself. But she finds the whole situation a little weird. She notes that claws raptors usually hunt in packs of at least 5. So where are the others? Jerong explains the royal jelly likely scattered the other monsters, so they weren't the only ones who took some losses. He glances around, warning that all kinds of monsters are probably lurking nearby. He suggests taking a quick break, but she wants to get back to her question from earlier. She asks again, "Did you get, personal training when you were younger?" "No," he replies, not even looking at her. "I just watched someone train." He admits he was being sneaky, so he only learned a few moves. Saerom turned white like she just saw a ghost or remembered she left the stove on. Jerong is completely confused by her reaction. "What are you staring at?" "I don't like people like you," she mutters. But suddenly, she throws something at him, catching him completely off guard. It's a C-type stamina ample worth at least 1.1 million won. That's some expensive salt. She tells him to drink it, figuring he's probably not in his best condition. He smiles. "You sure have a weird way of showing that you don't like me." Instead of drinking it, he just casually pockets the vial. She's surprised he's not going to use it. He just shrugs. "Well, I can sell it later." And her expression just completely sours. She sputters, asking if he even knows how much that thing costs. "I know," he says calmly. "If I sell it on the black market, it's a hefty amount of money. Approximately 1 million won." She's left completely speechless, just staring at him. This guy, he's weird. Really weird. Jerong turns to leave. "Well, no need to rest more since you drank that. Let's get going." He didn't even drink it. As he walks, he just shakes his head, thinking to himself, rich kids sure are weird. He is so oblivious. A bit later, they're crouched in the bushes outside the ruined mall. They decide to review the plan. She stresses that their goal isn't to hunt monsters. This is a smash and grab. Get in, get the coin, and get out. She gives him a stern look as he demands he follow her orders no matter what they find inside. Jerong just gives a confident smirk. "My specialty is surviving," he says. "Trust me." She hesitantly agrees. Saerom can't shake a weird feeling about him. Turns out, for the last 6 months, she's been a total outsider at school, completely unrecognized by her peers. So this is actually her first time ever teaming up with someone. Jerong, meanwhile, is completely oblivious to her inner turmoil and just says, "Let's go." She snaps out of it and follows him as they walk towards the vine-covered entrance of the abandoned mall. They step inside. The place is a complete wreck. It's dark, dilapidated, and eerily silent. But the silence is shattered by whatever they're seeing, causing both of them to freeze in shock. "What is this?" Saerom whispers, her face pale with horror. Even Jerong is sweating, admitting he has no idea. He has never seen anything like this before either. The camera pans out to reveal a gruesome slaughterhouse. The mall's main floor is a massive pit filled with the bloody remains of countless monsters. They step into what looks like a butcher shop's worst nightmare. I mean, the sheer amount of monster guts would make a horror movie director blush. This is way beyond just a simple dungeon crawl. This is a full-on massacre. Saerom is completely freaking out, saying these monsters are way too high level. Even the pros would have a tough time here. She stares into the dark building, wondering what kind of absolute beast could have caused all of this. But Jerong, our resident psycho in training, just tells her to get a grip. He's like, yeah, it's a little messy, so what? He reminds her that nothing has changed. They're still here for the mission. This guy has ice water in his veins, I swear. Just as she's calming down, her eyes go wide with shock again. And this time, it's personal. Because Jerong isn't just watching. He's standing right in the middle of a fresh pile of monster parts, having just finished his own little party. Suddenly, a survivor lunges. Its nasty bladed tongue whips through the air, aiming straight for Jerong's face. He dodges just in time, but the monster's tongue wraps around his spear. Not good. The creature gives a massive yank, pulling Jerong right towards its gaping mouth. Looks like he's about to be lunch. It's a trap. Jerong lets go, and the spear rockets forward, impaling the monster right through its own head. Ouch. And for the finisher, he twists midair and delivers a devastating axe kick. Crack. The monster's skull just pops like a balloon. His companion can only stare in absolute awe. Jerong just lands without a scratch and casually pulls his spear out. The creature's will to live was scary, but then he hits us with a shocking twist. He kept it alive on purpose. He explains that slasher lips scream when they die, so he used it as a living doorbell for anyone else lurking around. Confused, Saerom asks him who he was trying to warn. Who else could possibly be here? And right on cue, a new voice calls out from above. Me. Saerom wonders if he's just another adventurer. Is this new guy waiting for them? The guy just smirks. He notes they seem a little too young to be smugglers. Uh-oh, he knows something. He spots the school emblem on the archer's shirt and asks if she's from Warrior High. She confirms it, and he gives this cold smile. I see. Too bad you have to die in a place like this. Jerong snaps at her for talking to him. He's not a normal adventurer, he's a villain. He clarifies the guy's purpose. He's here to kill Jerong and steal the royal jelly. The loot goblin has arrived. Jerong confronts him, but the villain just scoffs. He says he only has to worry if he gets caught. The villain grins, saying he has great luck. He just happened to overhear his own comrades planning to smuggle a valuable item. His plan was to ambush the smuggler and take the loot, but he messed up, and his target escaped into this area. And it all clicks for Jerong. The smuggler didn't die from monster poison, he was attacked by this dude. Gripping his spear, Jerong can feel it. This opponent is the real deal. The pressure is insane. This guy's aura is on a completely different level. He's got that same high-ranker vibe as the other top dogs we've seen. Jerong tells Saerom to find the coins and run. He's gonna buy her some time. He assures her it should be safer inside, since the villain was kind enough to clear out most of the monsters already. The villain just mocks him. It doesn't matter. I can hear every word you're saying. So creepy. In a flash, the villain attacks. His glowing blade clashes with Jerong in a massive burst of energy. Jerong screams at Saerom to get out of there. He yells, "You have to survive so I can get paid." Well, that was enough to motivate her. She finally turns and bolts. The villain just chuckles. She really left. That wasn't a very good choice. With a totally manic grin, he unleashes a furious storm of slashes right at Jerong. Nonsense, Jerong mutters, as a brilliant blue aura explodes around him. It's go time. His eyes are glowing as he meets every single strike with impossible speed. He's moving like a blur. The villain's smug expression just melts into pure shock. He read my sword path? Yup, looks like it. Wham! Jerong slams his spear into the villain, sending him flying back with a huge impact. He lands perfectly, his spear still crackling with blue energy, ready for whatever comes next. The villain, looking a little shaken, finally admits it. You surprised me. He confesses he looked down on Jerong for being young, but now he's been forced to use his equipment. Jerong stays on guard as his opponent admits he'll have to get serious to take out both of them now. It won't take too long, he declares, as a terrifying dark aura erupts. Oh great, he's got a final form. But while our boy is facing down a final boss, we cut to a totally different scene. In a ruined room, some broker is just casually making instant noodles. Jaewon takes a bite and seems genuinely impressed. He's like, this is actually pretty good. He offers some to his bald buddy, who just gives him the death stare and says, I'm fine. Jaewon tells him to relax, pointing out that the guy they knocked out isn't waking up anytime soon. The bald man is not having it. He calls the unconscious dude a pig who can't even pull his own weight. He just keeps complaining about how arrogant the guy was before he got wrecked. Like the guy's defeat isn't enough of a roast. But Jaewon gives a little smirk. He didn't lose because he was bad, he says. He lost because he had to. Although, yeah, he was bad too. And here comes the lore drop, folks. He says people forget adventurers don't only fight other humans. That guy was a PvE player, trained for hunting monsters, not for PvP combat. He was fighting an enemy he wasn't built for, so of course a smuggler could take him down. The bald dude is shocked. He sputters. But I heard even amongst adventurers. Jaewon gets a sinister look in his eye. You're right, of course, they fight each other. He explains that the higher you rank up, the more common it is to fight over valuable loot. Even your closest allies will betray you for a chance at better gear. It's brutal out there. because apparently loyalty doesn't drop rare loot. His companion is horrified. He asks, do they even kill each other? Well, who's gonna stop them? There are no laws inside a dungeon, Jaewon says. If you say a monster did it, nobody can prove otherwise. You don't even need an alibi. Jaewon continues his lecture. The higher an adventurer's rank, the more they have to train for PvP. He takes a long, slow drag from his cigarette, really savoring the moment. But the class of that guy over there was not high enough, so that happened. He dismisses the whole beatdown as cute, since it happened outside a dungeon. He figures it was just a squabble without equipment. The bald guy repeats, equipment? Jaewon clarifies. He means the armor and weapons adventurers use for hunting monsters. He flicks his cigarette. With that stuff, even our friend over there could have put up a fight. The bald man is stunned. Is it that strong? Jaewon just says, of course. He finishes by saying that for an adventurer, equipment is half of their combat power. And speaking of equipment, Jerong is realizing his last attack landed perfectly, but Dogyun didn't even flinch. Dogyun smirks, his blade crackling with power. Don't think too much. This blade has an upper-level defense. He lunges forward, and their weapons clash in a massive shower of sparks. Boom. Jerong grits his teeth, straining against the raw force of that single blow. That's not very respectful of you, Dogyun growls. To me, and to your life. Dogyun's strength is just on another level now, sending Jerong sliding backward across the pavement. The two of them stand apart, the air crackling with tension. Round 2 is about to begin. Dogyun unleashes a furious assault, his sword a blur of dark, chaotic energy. One of the strikes gets through, slicing a thin, bloody cut across Jerong's cheek. Dogyun laughs like a total psycho. Haha, what's wrong? Fight back like you did before. But fighting back is impossible. See, Dogyun is wearing the Shade Jacket, an A+ rank armor. It literally consumes the user's blood to boost their stats and create a powerful defense. It's a perfect berserker build. Jerong knows a reckless fighting style like that has to have some openings. But if he messes up his counter even once, he's totally finished. As Dogyun swings again, Jerong dodges to the side, looking like he's going for a counterattack. And Dogyun's face splits into a wicked grin. You fell for it. Jerong is on one knee, looking defeated. Dogyun gloats that he lasted a while, but then he stops. He sees something. Jerong catches his breath. Is today some kind of special day? He rips off his shredded jacket, and his shirt underneath is barely damaged. I like that jacket, he says with a smirk. But you're not as strong as I thought you were. Jerong admits his aura was scary at first, but seeing him struggle against an unequipped high schooler is just pathetic. Then he drops the ultimate gamer insult. Aren't you just getting carried by your equipment? Oh, you can literally see Dogyun trembling with pure unfiltered rage. Not today, Satan. And he finally snaps. You motherfudger. But this was Jerong's plan all along. He knows that Dogyun is the one in a rush here. Dogyun's mission is to take him down, then hunt down and silence Saerom, the elf girl. The longer Jerong drags out this fight, the sloppier and more impatient his opponent will get. Jerong readies his stance, his eyes beginning to glow with a brilliant blue energy. The two warriors charge at each other, one a storm of red, the other a typhoon of blue. Their weapons meet in a cataclysmic explosion that shatters the ground around them. When he was young, Jerong learned a special move. He called it the second technique. A massive wave of blue energy erupts from Jerong, completely engulfing Dogyun. It's a move he can't do on his own. He had to absorb and redirect his enemy's own power against him. This is a skill Jerong hasn't even mastered yet, a final trump card called Swell. An insane wave of blue energy just detonates from the point of impact, swallowing Dogyun in a blinding flash. The dust settles. But the blowback was intense. Jerong is bleeding from the strain. Wiping the blood from his lips, he pants, admitting he never thought he'd have to actually use that move. But as the smoke clears, a figure emerges. Dogyun scoffs, to think a pro adventurer would just charge in over and over. Jerong is stunned he's still standing, but he tries to bluff. Give up, your time is over. He's now cockier than a cat in a room full of laser pointers. Dogyun is not impressed. His mask is shattered, revealing a furious, bloodied face. Bug off, cocky kid. But what is he doing? He grips the knife tight and plunges it right into his own stomach. Jerong just stares in disbelief. What in the world is this guy thinking? Dark, bubbling energy pours from the wound. Dogyun glares with pure hatred and vows, I'll make sure to kill you. Meanwhile, while Dogyun is busy summoning his inner demon, the elven archer Jin Saerom is upstairs. And there it is. Her objective. A giant, glowing blue cube just vibing in the middle of the room. She places her hand on it, and a system confirms her identity. Yep, that's her. Number 27-037. Phew. She breathes a huge sigh of relief. I found it. Now, I just have to return. But her victory lap is cut short by a familiar idiot screaming from the battlefield. She remembers Jerong yelling, Stop staying here and run, you idiot. You have to be fine for me to get money. She hesitates, thinking to herself that even if she leaves, nothing is going to change. Clutching a coin, she tries to talk herself into trusting him. I mean, he's a moron, but he wouldn't have picked this fight if he didn't have an escape plan, right? And now, my friends, it's time for a classic villain backstory. Let's hit the rewind button. We see a younger Dog-Yun grabbing some poor soul by the collar who's already apologizing for his existence. The guy promises never to be cheeky again, but Dog-Yun just gives him this nightmare fuel grin. And here comes the monologue. I was a genius, he thinks. From when I was young, everything was easy. He got perfect scores, praise from all the adults, and basically ruled over all the other kids. A real charmer. But even for Mr. Perfect, there was one thing he just couldn't achieve. Boom. A rejection letter from the prestigious Warrior High. Ouch. So he rationalizes it, convincing himself Warrior High is all about connections and money, not true talent like his. So, he decides he'll prove them all wrong by going to another school, Gangyan High. He was certain that with pure talent, there was no way he'd fall behind the curve. And you know what? He was right. He absolutely dominated the overcoming hardship test, taking first place with ease. To him, all the other students were just average NPCs. He was the chosen one, the main character. The final exam scores just confirmed his ego trip. He was miles ahead of second place. Everyone could see it. This guy was on a different level, totally destined to be a ranker. Fast forward to graduation, and of course, he's the valedictorian. An old instructor shakes his hand, telling him to keep going and not get a big head. But Dog-Yun is already thinking, look at this washed-up trash teaching kids. What a nice guy. He vows to get so successful that he can look down on this old man from the heavens. And then, reality hits. The flashback jumps to a brutal scene. Dog-Yun is bloodied, shaking, his party annihilated. He can barely speak. A monster killed my entire party alone. Just then, another adventurer walks onto the scene. You called me for this weak piece of crap? And Dog-Yun recognizes the look in his eyes. It's that condescending stare. The same one he's been giving everyone else his whole life. And in that moment, he gets it. The old instructor's words at graduation, they weren't advice. They were words of comfort. Because he wasn't a chosen one after all. He was just another guy in the crowd. A little bit better than average, but still looking up. Okay, flashback over. Back in the present, Dog-Yun explains his new edgy power-up as Jerong's face tightens. This jacket was made from a live vampire, he says. And I took his blood as the price for killing you. Dramatic? Much? Jerong's reaction? You sure about that? I don't know, but it sounds pretty dangerous. Our boy is not impressed. The demon lunges, but Jerong just casually notes that its speed hasn't really increased that much. Dog-Yun's demonic claws flash through the air in an absolutely vicious strike. And, bam, the attack connects with a massive, shadowy impact. When the smoke clears, all we see is blood dripping onto the floor. Both of them are panting hard. Jerong is now shirtless and bleeding all over the place. The demon seems impressed. You blocked it somehow. Great reaction speed, amazing talent. Then he asks a really weird question. Why are you a smuggler? Jerong just looks confused and stops in the middle of popping a healing ampule. It's not your business, Jerong snaps back. The demon just grins. Whatever, thanks to you, I can finally stomp on a talented person. And with that, he lunges forward again, ready to end this. Jerong is beaten up, but he flexes and realizes his body is still moving just fine. Check out that HP bar, folks. Dog-Yun is loving this. Incredible, he roars. Show me more. Jerong dodges the attacks, his brain going a mile a minute as he analyzes the situation. He figures it out. The power-up is fueled by blood, which means Dog-Yun is on a timer. So, the plan is simple. Bait him, make him use more blood, and then finish him with a move called Needles. But Dog-Yun is 2 steps ahead. I know that already, he says, looming over our boy. Jerong's eyes go wide in shock. He was too slow. Our boy messed up. The demonic figure closes in, blocking out all the light. This looks like the end. But then, boom. A massive blast of golden energy slams into Dog-Yun from the side. Jerong just stares, completely baffled by this last-second save. And look who it is. Up on a balcony, it's Jin Saerom, bow raised, looking like a total boss. Jerong turns, and he's got this twisted smile on his face. You really don't listen to me, he snarls. The blast cracked his edgy demon mask, revealing a furious face. Then a brilliant blue aura erupts around Jerong. Round 2, let's go. He wastes no time, and the two clash once more in a blinding flash of pure energy. When the dust settles, the fight is over. Inside this wrecked, snow-covered building, everything has gone quiet. Saerom stares at the villain's body, nervously asking, do you think he's dead? But Jerong, looking like he just finished a light workout, isn't worried at all. He just says he wouldn't die from something like that, like he personally checked the man's plot armor this morning. He tells her the guy won't come for revenge because it would ruin his image. You can tell she is not convinced. I'm sure that should be good enough, he adds. She just stares at him bewildered. Good enough? Jerong casually grabs his spear. He asks, did you already forget? He turns to her. I saved your life, so you owe me. Then he corrects himself, being extra smug about it. Technically, it would be twice, right? Once in the beginning, and again when you followed me. He actually smirks and says, I'll be generous, let's call it even. Oh, she's absolutely furious now. She completely explodes, stomping her foot. DOS it her to just say thanks. Jerong, completely unfazed, just leads them deeper into the ruins, which opens into a huge, cavernous area. They find themselves at the top of a grand staircase, glowing with a golden light and leading down into the dark. And wait, is that a fresh gash on Jerong's stomach? He was hiding that pretty well. Without saying a word, he starts walking down the glowing steps. Saerom has no choice but to follow. As they descend, she notices a weirdly sweet smell coming up from below. It's almost intoxicating. And at the bottom, they find the source. A wounded man is slumped over a big briefcase with a trail of blood leading right to him. Jerong just calmly sits down right across from the dying guy. His face gives nothing away. He looks back at Saerom, who looks like she saw a ghost. It appears they're in front of someone who's about to be one. He gestures to the case. Alright, why don't we take a look? Then he just reaches out and flips the latches. Boom. A brilliant golden light explodes from the case, blinding them both for a second. Inside is an old lantern, glowing intensely and giving off that sweet smell. It's so strong, it almost makes you dizzy. And Jerong gets it immediately. He realizes this thing is basically a monster magnet. Saerom points out a sack next to the lantern, wondering if it's more of that royal jelly they were after. Jerong quickly slams the case shut. He says, "We should leave immediately. Something might creep up on us if we stay." Bro's paranoia just leveled up. They get back to the main floor of the department store, and Jerong just says, "He's gone." But suddenly, a furious scream echoes from far away. "Just you wait." "Yup, it's our villain," he's yelling. "I remember both of your faces." Blood is dripping from his mouth as he screams, "I'll do whatever I can to kill you. I'll make sure you regret what you did today." Jerong just watches him, completely unbothered by any of these threats. He is not impressed. The villain turns and bolts, a totally manic grin on his face, but his escape is cut a little short. A massive monster drops from the sky, its jaws wide open. His eyes go wide with terror for just a second before crunch. The monster just straight up eats him. Hearing that lovely sound, Jerong and Saerom just stare. "Let's go through the back door," Jerong suggests. And yeah, she's not about to argue with that plan. Sometime later, they find a safe spot on a cliff overlooking the ruined city just as the sun is setting. Saerom joins him, and he asks about her test. She says cheerfully, "Yeah, I have enough time." Jerong holds out his hand for a shake. "Well then, it was nice meeting you." He adds, "Although plenty happened, we're both done with what we were here for. Mission accomplished, I guess." Saerom breaks into a warm smile and takes his hand. What a nice moment. Straight out of a romance movie where the ending is bittersweet. As they part ways, he gives her a final warning. "Total secrecy, pay up, and be careful if you don't want to meet me again." She hesitates for a second, then asks, "Is it okay if we see each other again?" Jerong literally stops in his tracks. My friend, he did not see that coming. Look at that face, he is completely shook. Back at his hideout, the broker Jaiwan is just chilling, patiently reading a book. Jerong walks in. "Seems like you had some fun?" Jaiwan asks. Jerong just grunts back, "Don't ask." Jaiwan says, "Let's take a look at the loot." He opens it and is stunned. He says if this thing hit the market, Jerong could buy a couple of buildings with the profits. He tells Jerong, "Good work. I'll send you the money sometime tomorrow." Business as usual. But Jaiwan looks at him with concern. "Hey you Jerong, are you okay?" Jerong just gives a flat, "Oh yeah." Jaiwan pushes a little. "Is it because of that adventurer? The one that died while fighting you?" Jerong looks down. "He didn't die while fighting me. I don't feel guilty." Jaiwan can tell something is off. He asks if there was something else that happened down there. Jerong quickly changes the subject. "Nothing. Forget about that." He points to the case and asks, "Can I take those?" Pointing to the two sacks that don't look like royal jelly. "Sure," Jaiwan agrees. "All other items excluding the object in question are for the smuggler's taking. That's the rule." Then he wonders aloud, "I wonder who's the kid that's going to eat that?" Jaiwan holds up the lantern and explains that besides bringing people back from the dead, it has another amazing effect. It can increase someone's limit. Basically, it breaks their level cap. Jerong is stunned. "It can do something like that?" Jaiwan confirms it's a little-known fact, but there's a catch. It only works on people who aren't adults yet. "I'm sure it's someone from Warrior High," he concludes. "Alright, I'm off," Jerong announces. "Tell your father I said hi," Jaiwan calls after him, but the kid just replies quietly, "Yeah, if I get the chance." He hasn't been doing well recently. Jerong walks out alone against a fiery sunset of this broken world. As Jerong walks through the empty streets, one thought keeps repeating in his head, Warrior High. He remembers Saerom's last words, how she hoped they'd meet again soon. It clearly caught him completely off guard. He asked if she was interested in him, but she just shut him down. "I'm not joking." She explains that there's an entrance exam for the school coming up in the winter. She admits they only accept a few students, but she thinks he actually has a good chance of getting in. Then, with her hand held out, she gives him a serious invitation. "Join Warrior High." Okay, so before you even think about joining Warrior High, you gotta know the rules. And rule number 1 of dungeoneering is simple. Don't go alone. Seriously. It does not matter if you are a level 99 pro gamer, because dungeons will throw everything at you, and trying to solo that is just asking for a bad time. And that, my friends, is why you need a party. You get a tank, a DPS, a healer, everyone covering for each other's weak spots. It is called teamwork. That is how you are supposed to clear these things. Apparently, Warrior High is less school and more high-stakes political drama. Jerong, being the genius he is, asks, "Factions? You mean they fight each other?" She just sighs. Oh, if only it were that simple and childish. She lays it out for him. Their grade is split into two main groups. And surprise, surprise, they are run by two of the top 3 students. Of course they are. So Jerong connects the dots. Students party up within their factions, and she is not in either one. And the teachers just let this happen? He asks. She is just like, nope. So basically, finding a team is your own problem. The school has a real hands-off policy. She can already see the judgment in his eyes. I know what you are thinking, that I just lack skill. Look, I know I am not going to be the top student, she admits. Jerong just listens, probably thinking the same thing. But she feels like she should at least be able to find a party. I mean, even the kids outside the main factions have their own little groups. But her problem is personal. One of the faction leaders has it out for her. This leader does not make it obvious, but she is pulling strings in the background to make sure Saerom is totally isolated. Jerong, with all the tact of a brick, just asks, so what did you do, steal her boyfriend or something? She immediately shuts that down. For now, she is barely scraping by as a solo player, but she knows that is not going to fly in the higher grades. And that is why she is here. She looks him dead in the eye and says, that is why I want to hire you. You can see the desperation in her eyes. With his insane skills, maybe, just maybe, she thinks she can actually survive this. A little later, we see Jerong back in his sad little room, patching himself up. He sits on his bed, thinking about her offer. What a weird girl, he thinks. Alright, we zoom back to Saerom, who just made it back to the dungeon barrier. And man, this place looks seriously creepy. Artist, you did a great job making this look uninviting. She spots Jerong walking off in the distance, but he just gives a lazy wave without even turning around. Yeah, I heard you. Good luck with all that. And just like that, he is gone. She is left there thinking, he is totally not going to call me, is he? But suddenly, a voice cuts through the silence from right behind her. You are not late. She just about jumps out of her skin. It is a huge dude with a nasty scar across his face. This is her teacher, Kang Yoongguk, the melee combat instructor. She is confused, since she is still technically in a test. He just says grimly, there has been a problem. He tells her that some weird monsters have been popping up in areas they should not be, as if the monsters are doing a spontaneous field trip. Luckily, no one died, but a bunch of students got overwhelmed and had to call for a rescue. Then he turns to her and his voice gets low. They were in the same area where you found that coin. He stares her down, asking, did you run into any problems? And you can see the sweat dripping down her face as she lies right to him. Nope, no problems at all. He seems to buy it, or at least he pretends to. I see. Alright then. And then bam! A massive shadowy monster just appears right behind her. The teacher screams, get behind me. She absolutely loses it, screaming and scrambling to get away. This thing is a Titan ape high danger rank monster. She's thinking, wait, there was another one? And this one is way bigger. But the teacher Yoongguk just steps forward, totally calm. A Titan ape? That is weird. He knows this monster's spawn point is nowhere near here. Something is definitely off. Saerom is wondering what could have possibly attracted it, and then the light bulb goes off. She remembers Jerong holding that case of royal jelly. Oh no, it was that smell he mentioned earlier. Jungkook yells her full name, Jin Saerom, telling her to back off as he cracks his cybernetic knuckles. Time to get serious. The ape lets out this absolutely terrifying roar. Good lord, artist, chill with these close-ups. Now, here's a fun fact about teachers in this world. They are all retired adventurers. Most of them even graduated from this very school. People think they are washouts who got injured and could not hack it anymore. But that is where they are wrong. Yoongguk winds up a massive hit right into the charging ape. The technique is called Fighter of Tyranny. And yeah, it looks about right. The sheer force of the blow sends this giant monster flying backward like it is nothing. A huge shockwave ripples out. You can just see the ape's entire body twisting from the impact. That has gotta hurt. The ape just chokes, its tongue flops out, and down it goes. Because the truth is, these teachers all earned the title of rankers back when they were in their early 20s. They are legends. The ape hits the ground with a final, earth-shaking thud. Jungkook just casually shakes out his glowing hand. You were lucky, Jin Saerom. He adds, that could have been really dangerous, like it was a minor inconvenience. Her mind is still trying to process the absolute beatdown she just witnessed. Jungkook puts a hand on her shoulder. All gentle now. I am just glad you are safe. He tells her to head back to camp, and as he walks away, she realizes something. It is way too easy to forget that the people teaching them are absolute monsters in their own right. Back at base camp, a bunch of other students are hanging around. One of them asks what is going to happen to the kids who called for a rescue. The answer? They get to do it all over again. One dude just scoffs. Lucky them. Anyone who went there was a weakling anyway. Saerom and Yoongguk get closer to camp. He tells her to go on ahead and wait by the camp buildings. His last order is to do a head count and get into uniform. She lets out a huge sigh of relief, finally feeling like she can breathe again. But of course the peace does not last. A smug voice cuts in. "See? I told you would be fine." She remarks, "At least your timing is good." It is a blonde elf, flanked by her 2 minions, putting on a big show of concern. "But really, I was so worried about you." Saerom just smirks right back. "Oh really? I find that very hard to believe." She sees right through her like a lie told by a bad actor in a school play. The blonde girl puts on her best fake face. "Why would you say that? You are hurting my feelings." And that is when Saerom's expression turns to ice, as the girl drops a bomb with one single word: sister. "Wait, sister? Okay, hold on. The writer is hitting us with a mandatory flashback. Let's rewind 6 years to a hand just crackling with unstable golden energy. Meet Zeke Saerom, her uncle, and a clear candidate for Guardian of the Year. He's coldly ordering a young trainee to crank up her power output, knowing she can take it. And that trainee is a tiny 11-year-old Jin Saerom, gritting her teeth and sweating buckets as she tries to control this wild energy. Her eyes are just wide with pure effort and a healthy dose of panic. "You can do it, kid!" Zeke finally calls it, noting that she has improved since their last session. A little praise, nice, but then he hits her with the, "only by a little though." Ouch. Saerom just hangs her head completely defeated. What a monster. Suddenly, a happy little shout snaps her out of her funk. What's that about? Across the gym, another young elf, Anisha Saerom, is just effortlessly blasting out a storm of powerful fire magic. Of course she is. Zeke explains that Anisha's looks aren't the only thing that marks her as a mixed blood. Apparently, her magical talent is actually better than most purebloods. She's a natural genius. He warns Saerom that her cousin is a prodigy, and if she keeps this up, she'll be compared to her for the rest of her life. What great motivation, uncle. But being compared is the least of her worries. Anisha's sweet little smile twists into a creepy, menacing grin. Oh no. Alright, back to the present. An adult Anisha is putting on her innocent act, wondering aloud why no one wants to team up with Saerom. Gee, I wonder why. Saerom cheekily suggests, "Why don't you try creating a party with me?" which catches Anisha totally off guard. But nope, just kidding. She immediately laughs it off, saying, "Oh, I can't. We're both range damage dealers." The absolute nerve of this girl. With a smug smile, she says having 2 of the same role is just a hassle for everyone else. She's pretending it's for Saerom's benefit, but we all know the truth. She tells Saerom not to worry since there will probably be a retest anyway. What a condescending little brat. Saerom gets right in her face. "I don't care about the rest. I passed the test. You tell her." Anisha gives some fake praise and tells her not to push herself too hard. The passive aggression is off the charts here. Her final shot is, "You'll inherit the company anyways. Stop struggling." Saerom just walks off, clenching her fist. Family drama, folks. It's the worst. Meanwhile, in a totally different plotline, Jerong is sprinting through a hospital at night like a madman. He stops outside a patient's room, asking a doctor and nurse what's going on. He's told the patient has had a relapse. Inside, his father lies unconscious, hooked up to an oxygen mask. This does not look good. The doctor explains that the patient has an extremely rare condition, so rare in fact that he might be the only case in the world. He is the only known person to have survived an infection from a dragon's blood. That sounds both awesome and horrible. But here's the problem. Modern medicine can't cure him. All they can do is suppress his pain with medication. And that medication requires a very specific ingredient, the milk of an extremely dangerous monster. Of course it does. It must be from a sky tiger, a 4-star danger rank monster. Jerong says money isn't an issue, but that's not the problem. It seems a new strength potion for adventurers has become super popular. And you guessed it, my friend. Jerong realizes the horrifying truth. The main ingredient for that potion is also the milk of the sky tiger. The doctor explains that the milk used to be easy to get, because no one wanted it. But now, greedy companies and adventurers are buying it all up. Jerong is enraged now. "No way. You're telling me you can't find enough to save one dying person?" But that's not even the worst part. The amount needed to stop his symptoms is equal to 10 of those adventurer potions. The doctor grimly concludes that since there's only one patient in the entire world, no one is giving up that kind of profit to save him. Capitalism, ladies and gentlemen. With no other options, Jerong just sits alone on a park bench outside the hospital, completely and utterly defeated. He pulls out his phone and makes a call, and guess who picks up? A very sweaty Jin Saerom in the middle of a workout. She answers, and Jerong just gets straight to the point. "Your offer, I don't think I have a choice but to accept." Saerom asks if he has any conditions in mind. He replies that he might, but thinks it can probably work out. After their discussion, Jerong asks, "You can get some," a tiny bit of hope in his voice. She just confidently replies, "Yeah." She explains that her company's development team literally produces the potion and the amount he needs is nothing to them. How convenient. Jerong just mutters darkly, "This world," before brushing it off and confirming the deal. Saerom asks if he has time to meet on Sunday. She smiles, reminding him that he has to prepare for his entrance exam. They gotta grind, you know. On Sunday, they meet at the massive Jinsong Group Special Defense Industry Research Institute. What a mouthful. Jerong arrives, carrying a long case over his shoulder. Saerom calls out, telling him he's early. She's dressed in a leather jacket and sunglasses, looking like a secret agent. How you feeling? She asks with a wave. Jerong asks what they're doing here. We're here to measure your potential, she replies. That sounds ominous. She gives him the rundown. After the world changed, people got powers. Before that, normal humans had D-rank stats across the board. Basically, we were all useless. Back then, getting a single stat to C rank made you a genius, and anything beyond B was considered superhuman. She says the bare minimum to be an adventurer is a C rank in the 5 main categories, flashing her own impressive stats with B rank intelligence and A rank patience. To even get into Warrior High, you need at least 3 B ranks. And right on cue, a stat block appears next to Jerong with question marks for all his stats. Jerong just scratches his head. So it's like getting my physical done? Oh, you sweet summer child? Saerom says it's simple when you're little but gets more complicated after puberty. Jerong looks at her, confused, asking what she means by that. Next thing you know, Jerong is geared up in a high-tech suit and helmet. He sighs, realizing he should have known something was up when she asked how he was feeling. Because this isn't just a simple stat check. Nope, he's standing in front of a massive combat robot. Good luck, buddy. But you know what? He's not even mad. Jerong just smirks, getting ready for a fight. After all, he's been pretty curious himself about his own potential. Let's see what our boy can do. And his opponent? Oh, just a massive hulking golem with a single creepy glowing blue eye. Meanwhile, 2 women are watching all this go down from the safety of a control room. Classic. One of them, a researcher with glasses, is sipping her coffee. She's impressed, saying most people get scared before a fight like this. She figures he must have some serious resolve since he's planning to transfer. Meet Yoon Yo-min, a golem expert and researcher. Our girl Saerom, on the other hand, just laughs nervously in response. She knows her friend is a psycho. With a little smile, Yo-min slams the big blue button on the console. Let's start. Oh boy. The golem lurches forward, charging at Jerong. It's go time. So normally this talent test is usually given to kids in their 6th or 7th year, and they wear special gear for measurements. The whole point is to push these kids to their absolute physical limits across a bunch of different fields. But here's the problem. It's really hard to measure people with amazing talent or extensive training because, well, it's just too darn difficult for them to actually reach their limit.
Classic OP protagonist problems.
Back in the control room, Saerom notes that Jerong's physique is already near a professional level. Pushing him to his limit won't be easy. She figures he has to be getting tired, but then Yo-min hits her with a pretty sharp question. She asks, "Didn't you say your friend went to a normal high school because he failed admissions?" Yo-min is genuinely baffled. How could a guy with this much raw talent possibly fail anything? She explains that even with the difficulty nerfed, that Golem is a model used to train actual pros. Jerong didn't just win, he read its patterns, dodged a few times, and then found the perfect opening to counter. Yo-min is completely floored. He's insane. His senses alone are better than the average pro. This kid is a monster. Saerom looks totally stunned, asking what this means for the measurement. She is in way over her head. Yo-min admits it's complicated. The problem is simple, really. Jerong hasn't even broken a sweat yet. She decides they have to raise the difficulty, but Saerom knows a little bump isn't going to cut it. So Yo-min suggests the nuclear option. Disable safe mode and run the simulation at 100% power. But Saerom immediately shuts that down. Taking off safe mode for a non-professional is a straight-up felony. Saerom throws her hands up in frustration. Then how can we measure his limit? Yo-min has absolutely no idea. Yo-min admits it's a first for her. Suddenly, a voice from behind her snaps, "I don't pay you to do that stuff." Oops, they're busted. A tall blonde elf walks in, asking why they're using the lab without a report. It's Zeke Saerom, the director of research. Saerom nervously calls him uncle, noting he doesn't usually come in on Sundays. Worst timing ever. Zeke's expression is ice cold. He hopes whatever they're doing is worth going to prison for. Yikes. Saerom quickly takes the blame, insisting she asked for this, but Zeke is not impressed in the slightest. He scoffs, asking if that's an excuse. Then he hits her with, "This is your father's place, not yours." Ouch. He finishes by telling her there's nothing she can take responsibility for. Man, this family has issues. Yo-min realizes the rumors were true. Her maternal uncle has been cold to Saerom since she was a little kid. He has always treated her this way, even though she never did anything wrong. What a complete jerk. Yo-min wonders why he's giving them such a hard time when other adventurers use the facility on weekends constantly. Then Zeke's attention is suddenly caught by the monitor. "Hello? Is there a problem?" Jerong calls out. He turns to Saerom. "Who is that? Someone on your level?" A little bit of a jab there. Saerom quietly replies that it is just her friend. Nothing to see here. Yumen quickly explains the situation. He failed admissions, lost his data, and Saerom was just trying to help. Zeke considers this, glancing at the completely disabled golem on the screen. The gears are turning. Alright, I'll do it. His sudden declaration shocks both women. Wait, what? A confused yeoman asks what he means by that, but Zeke is already walking towards the exit. You said the golems in safe mode weren't enough. I'll go down and face him myself. Oh, it is about to go down. Down in the arena, Jerong is completely unaware of what's coming. Sometimes, when a test subject's limits are too high, a battle against another adventurer is arranged. In this case, an opponent who is several levels higher. Zeke strolls into the chamber. It's sudden, but I'll skip introductions. I don't have much time. As Zeke cracks his knuckles, Jerong has no clue who this guy is, but his danger senses are going absolutely haywire. Looks like you understood the situation, Zeke says calmly. I'll be your opponent, so try your best. No pressure. Jerong is hit with a chilling sense of deja vu, remembering that overwhelming villain from the dungeon. This is the first time since then that he's faced an opponent he felt he had no chance of winning against. Jerong grips his staff, sweat dripping down his face, and accepts the challenge. Come. Zeke simply waves a hand. There's no need to worry about my safety. The absolute disrespect. Without a moment's hesitation, Jerong explodes forward, rocketing across the room with a powerful spear thrust. Bam. But his opponent, Zeke Saerom, doesn't even flinch. He just calmly raises a single hand to meet the attack. And Jerong is in for a rude awakening. This guy isn't just some executive, he's Korea's 7th-ranked adventurer. That makes him a white class, one of the top 10 strongest fighters in the entire country. Jerong is putting everything he has into a single, overwhelming attack. He unleashes a massive wave of pure energy, a full power strike meant to blast an opening right through him. But even as he throws everything he's got, Jerong can't see a single flaw in Zeke's defense. Zeke, on the other hand, is completely unfazed. Jerong's now thinking that if there is no opening, he will just have to make one himself. Jerong's strategy is as simple as it gets, my friends. One massive strike with his full force behind it. The plan is to attack the opening that's created when his opponent is forced to dodge. But here is the thing. Zeke does not dodge. He just catches the spear with his bare hands. He really said, nah to momentum. Jerong is completely stunned. His brain just short-circuited. How is this even possible? Zeke looks at him with pure disappointment. You are much more frivolous than I thought. Before Jerong can even react to that sick burn, Zeke pivots and sends a powerful kick right into his side. Wham! Even Zeke is reeling from his own attack. The impact sends our boy tumbling across the entire arena floor. He lands hard, struggling to even process what in the world just happened. Zeke questions his tactics, wondering if he is only this reckless because it is a simulation, or if he is just genuinely that dumb. Either way, Jerong's brain is clearly running on trial mode. Zeke tells him, it is quite an idiotic choice you have made. To add insult to injury, he points out that Jerong's spear clattered to the floor. And you have even dropped your weapon despite not losing your consciousness. Jerong can only watch in horror, a single bead of sweat rolling down his face. He quickly scrambles to his feet, trying to grab his weapon back from Zeke. Zeke's patience is wearing thin. He warns Jerong that he has already allowed 2 mistakes. He basically tells him to quit his dream of being an adventurer, because one more screw-up and he is sending him home. Jerong retakes his stance, finally acknowledging the pure hostility coming from this guy. He grips his weapon tightly and charges forward once again. Zeke notes that he is using the exact same attack pattern as before, a predictable mistake. But just as Jerong plants his foot, he completely changes his tactics. Zeke's eyes widen ever so slightly. He did not see that coming. Instead of a direct thrust, Jerong unleashes 2 sharp-ranged energy slashes. Zeke sidesteps them easily, dismissing the move as a standard feint, not nearly enough to challenge him. But Jerong just grins from behind his helmet. I am sure you are not satisfied. He then reveals, that was just the beginning. This time, he channels the energy not from the tip of the spear, but near the blunt part, and he fires off a concussive blast of pure, raw energy. The totally unexpected move actually catches Zeke off guard. Forced onto the defensive, he is barely able to avoid the volley of attacks. You can see quiet resolve on Zeke's face. Not bad. Alright, playtime is over. He clenches his fist, deciding to finally get serious. An immense pressure explodes from him, his entire aura flaring to life like a supernova. Back in the control room, the watchers are losing their minds. Is this a battle between pros? Jung Yeomin cannot believe it. This is the guy who could not get into any other school. Anyway, she says that our boy is not perfect, not by a long shot. Saerom looks at her, completely confused. What is wrong? Yeomin explains that Jerong has a detrimental, almost fatal weakness. Yeomin said Saerom is actually way better off in that one department. Meanwhile, back in the arena, Zeke is going all out. What the heck is wrong with this kid who can fight him on equal grounds? Zeke closes the distance in an instant, smashing his fist directly into Jerong's guard. Jerong is barely holding on against the absolute onslaught. Yeoman gasped from the control room. Oh my. He lost the lead. Crack! The force of the blow cracks his helmet's visor wide open. Jerong grunts in pain, his teeth literally glowing with contained energy. But despite that powerful blow, he somehow manages to keep his feet and hold onto his weapon. Zeke is slightly impressed. At the very least, you managed to keep control of your weapon. Jerong shouts back that it should be a given, just as Zeke lands another brutal punch right to him. Lesson learned, less talking, more dodging. Boom. The impact sends a massive shockwave across the entire arena. Even the walls are like, hey, chill. Yeoman just remarks that the chief is something else entirely, even while holding back this much. Saerom just watches silently, her expression completely unreadable. Zeke tells a completely defeated Jerong that there is no need to think about his loss, as it was always inevitable. That's the kind of loss you think about in the shower later. He calls the journey to accepting that loss pitiful. Man, this guy is harsh. The reason for his loss? Both Zeke and Yeoman realize it at the same time. He completely lacks basic training. Saerom is lost, questioning what they even mean by basics. Yeoman explains that while his talent and battle sense are off the charts, his stance and fundamentals are so bad it is like he has never been trained a day in his life. She admits she is disappointed because with his insane talent, he could have been so much stronger with just a little training. Wasted potential is apparently her biggest pet peeve. Her words echo a painful memory for Saerom, of a younger Jerong admitting he had never been taught before. In the arena, Zeke tells Jerong he has seen plenty of people just like him. He assumes Jerong is just another talented kid who never put in any real effort, but Saerom knows that is not the case at all. Zeke says he will give Jerong his evaluation numbers for the test. Those numbers are probably going to sting. However, his one piece of advice for him, just give up now. He tells him that someone as weak as him will just get himself killed if he tries to rely on talent alone. That's not advice, that's a verbal body slam. But Jerong slowly, painfully gets back to his feet, trying to process the harsh critique. Taking off his shattered helmet, he asks, "You hate lazy people?" Zeke stops. He realizes Jerong is not finished. He fully intended that last blow to end the entire fight. Jerong does not care about the results anymore. He just wants one more round. Bro's powered entirely by spite now. "I'll show you," he says confidently. "This is not just a fight. This is the culmination, the results of all his effort." Meanwhile, up in the control room, the researchers are absolutely losing their minds. Yeoman grabs the mic, yelling that they have all the data they need and he can stop now. Saerom even chimes in, trying to calm him down. She says he did a good job and the test is over. But down in the arena, our boy Jerong is not listening. He is absolutely fired up. Zeke just calmly tells him it's pointless. The outcome won't change no matter how many times we fight. Zeke's looking completely unimpressed. "Do you want me to acknowledge you or something? Tell you that you did well?" Jerong just glares back and a slight, menacing smile forms on his face. "Not really? I'm just ticked off right now," he says as his blue aura flares to life. "So all you have to do is get beat up by me." And that is his version of saying good luck. But you see, his reason for being here wasn't just some simple transfer evaluation. Without a teacher, Jerong had to learn everything himself, grinding from level 1. However, thanks to his natural talent, he managed to make up for his lack of training. The guy basically speedran the tutorial. On top of that, his real-world combat experience let him fight freely and effectively. But despite all this miraculous progress, he never felt like he was better than anyone else. In fact, most of the adventurers he met were total fakes, and were actually weaker than him. Zeke finally seems to understand. "I see, it's my fault." He knows this man is different. Jerong is a monster of pure talent, so Zeke decides to go all out. "I'll make sure to beat you so hard you lose the will to be angry." Jerong's eyes widen in shock. A predatory grin spreads across his face. Oh, he is loving this. He looks like a kid who just got a new video game. Finally, after all this time, he's met someone he considers the real deal, like his dad. Without even realizing it, his blood begins to boil with the thrill of a real fight. Back in the control room, Saerom is freaking out. This is crazy. Why is the chief like that too? Then she notices something has changed. That stance, it's different from before. Zeke also sees it. His posture, his balance, that is not a staff stance anymore. It's as if he's become a completely different person. He just downloaded a patch update. There will be a massive shift in the battle. Jerong explodes forward, spinning his staff in a wide, powerful arc. Whoosh! He unleashes a furious strike, aiming right for Zeke's head. The attack is so fast it leaves a small cut on Zeke's cheek as he dodges. First blood. Yeoman gasps in shock from the control room. Her jaw is on the floor, but Jerong doesn't let up, immediately flowing into another devastating swing. Zeke is forced onto the defensive, weaving and dodging the relentless assault. Saerom watches, completely mesmerized. His movements are simpler now, even rougher than before. However, there's not a single opening between his moves. This is amazing. Jerong's face is a mask of pure concentration and aggression. Bro is in the zone. He's mentally fighting boss music. A memory flashes through his mind, a bearded, muscular man with a kind face. His dad, he remembers being a small child, mimicking the man's spear techniques with a broom. Zeke parries a blow, his hand glowing with energy. Pow. The memory of the boy's happy, sweaty face flashes by. All so cute. In the present, Zeke shoves Jerong back, finally creating some distance. Zeke prepares to counterattack, his own eyes glowing with power. It is his turn now. His dad appears before him, his massive frame towering over Jerong. Zeke unleashes a powerful blast of energy. Kaboom! His dad has a scar over his eye, but his gaze is gentle. Back in the present, Jerong meets the attack head-on, with no intention of dodging. The memory shows the man's large, calloused hand reaching out. Jerong pushes back against Zeke's energy with every ounce of his might. The young boy in the memory looks up, his expression one of pure awe. The force of the impact sends Jerong flying backwards across the arena. But Yusong's hand simply ruffles the boy's hair affectionately. How wholesome. Jerong twists in mid-air, using the momentum to try and reposition himself. Zeke sees his chance. There's an opening once he lands. Jerong knows it too. He won't be able to dodge an attack right now. He's a sitting duck. Zeke decides to end it. The two fighters clash in a blinding explosion of power that rocks the entire room. Saerom and Yeoman can only watch in horror as the final decisive blow lands. After a moment, the dust from the final strike begins to settle. Zeke stands over the defeated Jerong. If you hadn't used that unfitting staff skill of yours, you would have won. He asks if holding back was Jerong's last bit of pride or something. Jerong just winces. No, I just ran out, he admits. What I memorized, that was all I knew. He just ended up getting beat up even more. Now Zeke Saerom is known among the highest rankers for his sharp attitude. Saerom calls him. He tells Saerom to be quiet. No one ever complains about his methods. His skill is simply overwhelming. He's just built different. He places his hand over Jerong's face, healing all of his injuries with a golden light. Like magic, Jerong's bruises and cuts vanish instantly. That's one heck of a healing spell. Zeke stands up, telling his niece not to worry. He'll be fine. I made sure to heal him of any injuries. He turns to Saerom. You told me his name is Jerong. She confirms, looking confused. And here comes the twist, folks. Zeke is one of only 10 white class rankers in the whole country. Not only that, he's also the greatest healers in Korea. And he has a startling realization. To think I'd meet his son here. We cut to a rooftop parking garage with Zeke. Someone's grumbling that he should have sent a text message if he was going to be late. They're going to be late for the briefing again. The driver just smirks, pointing out that everyone already assumes he's the reason they're always late. Oh no. Zeke just says something came up, playing it cool as always. His buddy heard he was dueling some kid. He figures it must have been a whole gang for Zeke of all people to be delayed. But then he notices something, his eyes go wide and his pupils turn red. The guy lets out a scream like he just saw a ghost. On the side of Zeke's face is a small cut. The fight left a signature. Zeke just stares back at him, completely unimpressed by this drama queen performance. His friend leans over, pointing like a madman. The thing on your cheek, is that a cut? Zeke deadpans. What else would it be? I love this guy's energy. Zero fricks given. The driver is losing his mind. He guesses the kid must have been 16, maybe 17 years old. Zeke confirms it. 17, and he's trying to get into Warrior High this winter. His friend notes that nobody has passed the winter recruitment in the 3 years he was there. It's basically impossible. And then it clicks. This 17-year-old kid who doesn't even have an adventurer ID managed to land a hit on Zeke Saerom. He mutters that the young ones are getting scary. It's kind of funny. Zeke says it's not fair to compare humans to elves, but he's sure there's no difference between this new guy and Jerong. Okay, that was the wrong thing to say. The driver gets all offended, puffing out his chest. He's Kang Jeon-ho, South Korea's 19th ranked black class. He flips a switch on the console, adding smugly, I'm sure I have the edge on him. That confidence is begging to be humbled. Zeke just sighs, probably wondering why he's friends with this guy. He changes the subject to the new car. Jeon-ho says it just arrived and cost him 3.5 billion. Casual. Zeke just pretends he didn't hear that. Jeon-ho keeps boasting that he's got the edge in age and talent. We'll see about that, buddy. Meanwhile, back at the lab, Jerong is passed out on some fancy sci-fi medical bed. And he's up. Just like that, he sits bolt upright, totally fine. He looks at his hands, completely bewildered. All his injuries are gone. No pain, nothing. That healer magic is no joke. A voice calls out, you're awake. It's Saerom, asking if he seriously thought he could win that fight. Jerong admits he didn't. He just got mad and, hey, Zeke started it. He's not wrong. Saerom is stunned. No way, why would my uncle try to fight you? Uh-oh, Jerong didn't know he's her uncle. She confirms he's her mom's brother and Jerong's brain starts spinning, trying to connect the dots. Saerom hands him a mug, blushing a little. Jerong says it seems like she has a good relationship with her uncle. Jerong just scoffs. He figures Zeke was just a classic overprotective uncle, thinking some weirdo was hitting on his niece. And honestly, he gets it. Saerom tries to defend him, but Jerong just gives a sarcastic "yeah, sure," he is not convinced. Just then, Yumin peeks in, all smiles. She's just happy to see our boy is awake. She asks if he's hurt, and he says he's fine. She beams, saying the healing probably fixed up some old injuries too. Bonus. Then she drops the bombshell. Our chief Zeke is the country's greatest healer. Jerong's eyes pop like popcorn. He can't believe it. The guy who mopped the floor with him wasn't even a fighter class? That's just insulting. Yeomin smiles, whipping out a tablet. I have your results, she says. The results pop up. Strength is B, stamina is A, agility is A. Saerom looks at the screen, completely amazed. And what does our protagonist say? Is this good? My friend Saerom's face says it all. What a goober. Yeomin just laughs and tells Saerom to calm down. It's time for a classic stats explanation montage. The only thing more intense than the battle is the data. Alright, listen up folks. To be a first-class adventurer, you need at least a B-rank stat, which is superhuman level. But balance is key. You can't be a glass cannon. High strength is useless if you're too slow to hit anything. Saerom chimes in. Even normal people might have one C-rank stat, but having more than two, that's when things get interesting. Someone with C rank in all three main stats is 1 in 10,000. All three at B rank, that's 1 in 500,000. A true prodigy. She's losing her mind. Jerong's stats aren't just balanced, they're legendary. He's on the level of the absolute monsters who founded the whole system. Jerong just smirks. Should I tell you something interesting? Oh, you mean more interesting than being a 1 in a million talent? But Yeomin beats him to it. She reveals that Zeke, the guy he just fought, doesn't have a single stat above an A. Jerong is floored again. Yeomin explains that stats are just your potential. They're not a measure of your current skill. Without training, an A rank is no different from a D rank. It's the classic talent versus hard work speech. All that shine, zero polish. Things like battle sense, experience, and skill mastery are what really matter in a fight. Actually, she's seen plenty of adventurers close the stat gap with pure grit and determination. And it looks like that little speech hit home for Saerom. Look at her, all inspired and blushing. Jerong just shuts off the tablet. Thank you for the story. He says he's not disappointed, he just doesn't get it, but there's someone that I know. He finishes, compared to him, I still have a long way to go. Oh, mysterious. Yeomin looks intrigued. She muses that this person must be super famous. A silhouette of a huge bearded dude appears behind Jerong as he just says, well maybe. Saerom says they're done for the day. But just as he's about to leave, Yeomin stops him. She suggests he should check out the production department while he's here. Saerom looks all nervous, admitting she doesn't know anyone there, and her uncle would totally disapprove. But Yeomin cuts in with a sly grin. What do you mean? The chief already approved it. Saerom is completely shook. He really said that before he left? Cue the flashback. Zeke's parting words were, when he gets up, take him to the equipment production department. Tell them he's my guest and make a weapon that suits him. Don't worry about the cost. Well dang, that's one heck of an apology gift. Back in the present, Saerom's mind is blown. Jerong just looks confused, wondering what he did to deserve all this. Alright folks, a quick PSA from the author. Ability stats are your innate potential. They set your growth cap. You're basically stuck with what you're born with, unless you find some super rare cheat item. And if you want an adventurer license, you better have good stats. Get a rank E in anything but magic and you're out. No exceptions. Unless you're special, of course. Speaking of special, every adventurer knows you need some top-tier loot to go with those stats. I mean, what's the point of being a total beast if your cheap sword just shatters on you? It's simple logic, my friend. The stronger you get, the better your gear has to be. Jerong seems to get the idea, but he's still thinking it's a free-to-play game. He asks if Warrior High, being a school, will just hand them some starter equipment. And just like that, he breaks them. Saerom looks like she's questioning all her life choices. She explains that a normal school would. Sure. But Warrior High is anything but normal. Most schools have regulations on gear to keep things fair and balanced for all students. Jerong points out that Warrior High is loaded, so they should be able to afford it. But Jung Yo-min, a graduate, steps in. It's not about money. Our school has different ideals. She says that since everyone's talent is different, your ability to get good gear is also a skill. And that's why at Warrior High, it's bring your own weapon. No exceptions. Jerong finally asks the real question. Isn't this just a massive advantage for rich kids? Yeomin adjusts her glasses and admits, well, you're not wrong about that. However, she says it's still possible for students to get good gear without any money. Just getting into Warrior High means you're considered a top-tier prospect with star potential. Basically an instant VIP pass to stress and glory. With that kind of talent, she says, people with very deep pockets will want to invest in you. Once you're in, giant companies will come knocking, looking for the next big thing. They'll offer you modeling gigs, brand deals, and a cut of future earnings for some funding. She even flexes her own deal, boasting about her scholarship and a guaranteed job after retirement. And our boy finally gets it. Warrior High isn't a school, it's a battleground for opportunities. But Yeoman reminds him he has to pass the transfer exam first, which is way harder. Which is exactly why Director Zeke is stepping in to give him a little cheat code. Yeoman says she sent his details ahead. Now he just has to go to the underground refinery. Good luck. As they head to the elevator, Jerong notes how weird it is that Zeke is helping him out. He realizes everyone is taking this super seriously, which prompts Saerom to admit that she was going to use her own money to help him. Jerong gets all flustered, which just annoys her. As they go down, Saerom explains that money isn't everything. What matters is who makes your gear. And the Jinsong Group's production department? Yeah, they're one of the best in the world. The elevator arrives, and Jerong mutters that it can't be that different. Famous last words. Because what they step into is a colossal underground forge called the Boiling Abyss. Seriously. Saerom gets her smug face on as Jerong starts sweating. This is way beyond his expectations. Suddenly, a gargantuan shadow rises from the forge and a single, massive red eye opens. Jerong knows Zeke sent them. The giant figure grumbles, "That darn Zeke, calling me on my day off." Jerong starts to panic, but Saerom quickly steps in. Don't worry, he's the team leader here. The Titan just chuckles. Turns out he's Thunderhammer Argius, an elder Titan just chilling in Korea. Argius lights up a massive cigar and asks which one of them Zeke sent to bother him. Saerom tells him about the data they sent, but he waves it off as nonsense from humans. He says his underlings usually handle that stuff, but it's the weekend, so they're gone. But since Zeke himself made the call, Argius decides to handle it personally. Shall we begin? He glances at the case Jerong's carrying and lays down a terrifying challenge. Try to hunt me, kid. Argius explains his policy. He won't make a weapon for anyone until they prove they're worthy. But after seeing the battle footage, he saw something special in Jerong, a true warrior's spirit. So he's impressed, and he changes the test. Alright then, why don't you try beating me? Saerom tries to object, but Jerong doesn't even hesitate. He powers up, declaring, "I never back down." Argius's eye widens as Jerong, covered in energy, lunges forward and unleashes a powerful strike. The attack is so fast it slices the Titan's cigar clean in half, but Jerong is totally stunned. Argius stopped the spear by catching it near his mouth. Then he asks, "Where did you get a weapon like this?" Jerong is completely baffled. He was positive his attack, the sharpest needle, was a critical hit. Sure, he's fought monsters he couldn't one-shot before, but this was on another level. This felt like he just tried to punch a literal mountain, a completely unmovable wall. Forget strength, it was like hitting something that wasn't even alive, just pure defense. Staring up at this hulking beast, he has to wonder what in the world is he even fighting. It has one eye and zero chill. Meanwhile, Saerom is having a full-blown panic attack. That idiot, he really went and did it. And she has another reason to be worried. It's time for a quick lesson on monster power levels, folks. A one-star monster like a mantis fly is just defined as being able to kill a human. Basically, any regular adult with a decent weapon could probably take one down. Easy peasy. For two-star threats like these cluster raptors, you need trained soldiers armed with guns. Moving up to 3 stars like a young Titan ape, you better bring armored weapons to even stand a chance. At 4 stars, you're talking about city-destroying nightmares like the Democulus. The casualties get so high that ground troops are told to just focus on getting civilians out of there. These guys are usually handled with long-range artillery and good old-fashioned bombing runs. But 4 stars is the absolute highest level the military can handle by themselves. Any monster ranked at 5 stars is on a whole other plane of existence that modern armies just can't touch. Even if they could win, the damage would be catastrophic and basically irreversible. To keep the losses down, that's when they call in the big guns. An attack squad of the best adventurers. And that massive Titan finally speaks. Just a simple hey. Saerom is visibly horrified now. The Titan then asks a very straightforward question. Where did you get that weapon from? But Jerong, ever the smart aleck, smirks back. Did it hurt? Why so curious about my weapon? The Titan, Argius, leans in. I suggest you think about your response since I made that weapon myself. He stomps his foot, and the sheer power cracks the entire ground beneath them. Somewhere the floor warranty just expired. So I'll ask one last time. Why is that in your hands and not with the person I made it for? Saerom's mind is racing. If Argius made that weapon, it would have to be at least A+ rank. A weapon that strong should have been registered in the association database, along with its owner. That's not something a low-level smuggler could get. She starts to wonder, don't tell me he stole it? Jerong just gives a cheeky smile. I don't want to tell you. Or better yet, what if I have no reason to? Saerom absolutely loses it. Stupid. And Argius has heard enough. I see. I'll take that into consideration. As the Titan lunges, only one thought flashes through Jerong's mind. Death. His brain skips straight to the end credits. He knows he can't dodge this. His only option is to block it head-on. The needle technique is useless here, and using swells to absorb it would be pure suicide. That only leaves him with one last choice. The final technique in his arsenal. the one he stole from his own father, Yu Xiong. As their attacks are about to collide, Argus's eyes widen. He's genuinely surprised. Now, the law of force is simple. When two things collide, the bigger, stronger one always wins. However, what if it's not a head-on collision at all? With a perfect calculation of angle and timing, it's possible to redirect the force even if you can't win. This deflection technique, this was Jerong's ultimate trump card because plan A through Z already failed. Saerom is in absolute shock. He parried it, an attack from a 7-star monster. With Argus stunned, Jerong sees his opening. The only weakness I can exploit is his eye, but it's completely useless. Argus catches the spear between two fingers, just inches from his eye. The immense pressure from the Titan's grip starts to literally crush Jerong. That grip is doing way too much. I know he looks suspicious in your eyes. Saerom screams, running forward to intervene. She stands her ground, telling Argus, "You don't have the right to attack humans without knowing the full story." She reminds him of the law. Special species can't hurt humans unless their own life is in danger. If that rule is broken, they lose their special status and are treated like any other monster. Argus finally relents. "Don't worry, I understand." He releases Jerong, and Saerom rushes to his side. Then Argus drops another bombshell. "I know why that kid has the weapon I made." He thinks to himself, "Zeke, so that's why he woke me up." Then he turns to Jerong. He actually apologizes. "You have the right to have that weapon. I'll be sure to repay you for my mistake." He glances down at his fingers. "Just now. It's been 30 years since I've been injured." Saerom is completely lost. What is he talking about? What does he mean? Argus asks them a question. "Do you know why I work for you humans now?" Saerom answers, "Because the Gaebyuk attack squad hunted you 30 years ago." Argus just scoffs. "That's wrong. Is that how the story goes? They didn't even manage to touch me back then? The one who actually hunted me was a single human." He explains. "He cut off my arm, and even had the chance to take my life, but he chose not to." Jerong's expression hardens. You can almost see the gears turning in his head. Argus takes one last puff from his cigar, his eye fixed on Jerong. "Kid." And so Argus begins his story, flashing back to a fiery battle from 30 years ago. Suddenly, a powerful warrior smashes through the ceiling, appearing in a blur of pure energy. The man who faced the Titan, wielding a glowing axe with fierce determination, was none other than Jerong's father, Yu Xiong. That's a wrap on this recap. Hit that subscribe button to help us keep pumping out awesome content. Catch you in the next one.